Hi, my friends and family. My name is Trey, and this is my YouTube and Odyssey channel, Trey's Myths and Tunes. Today I've got a painful discussion called Why Truman Had No Friends Beside the Self. S.C.Ca is my T-show. In this video, I'm going to compare my nearly 20 years in Santa Cruz, California with the movie The Truman Show, and after narcissistic abuse, and also beginning to notice the Zeta, what I thought was ghost activity, kind of making the whole thing seem like a haunted version of the Truman Show. Oh, that smell. Can't you smell that smell? Oh, that smell. The smell that's around you. Doodle-doodle. Doodle-doodle. Down on me, boom. Yeah, Joe Vital's formula for success. He says first you got to know what you don't want. Well, Santa Cruz has helped me with realizing my dreams and knowing what I don't want. I realize my dream is a one-man band, but why Truman had no friends beside the self. Santa Cruz, California, as my Truman Show. Well, I love this movie. I probably saw it more than once in the movie theater, and I got the poster from the movie theater, and it was just, I think Ridley Scott's the name of the director, and that movie really resonated with me on a deep level for some reason. And so, arriving in Santa Cruz from South Carolina nearly 20 years ago, I was struck by its magic and beauty. This perfect weather, this all the cannabis and all the organic food, and I was certainly. They say if you stay over 2 weeks, you get the curse of Santa Cruz. You get pulled back in. You get magnetically pulled by the beauty, or for some reason, enjoying the beach. In my first 10 years, I had a lot of involvement with people. I lived with anarchists for days out of the week. I lived with women I was infatuated with. People invited me over. Part of this side of the talk I could relate to my mental and physical issues, as well as the ageism of Hollywood, where they worship the youth, um, to every degrees of evil. So people invited me over. I lived with a few others, Isaac, and this guy I made a video about. And I want to say Yimby Nimby, was a battle that about 10 years ago that people were talking about around here. I want to bring that conversation back. Yes, in my backyard versus no, not in my backyard. But my friend, he had the heavy NPD or NPEs, and at one point he told me he ran an extortion racket with me for years, and at one point he told me you'll never get taken advantage of again, or nobody will ever be able to take advantage of you again when I'm done with you. He was in a certain religious cult. Religious cults around this region, and cannabis can often feed the NPEs and the Zeta control over this region. It's really tragic, really sad. And the more I recognize it, the more, again, it's made me feel like I was on the Truman Show, because even, it's a lot different 10 years ago when I was having interactions with women I really liked, and rocking out at the free Jamaican music nights at restaurants and nightclubs like once or twice a week, playing my horn, dancing and playing, smoking fatties with people all the time. There's just no scenes like that around it now. But so when you notice the Zeta mind control or the intergalactic interdimensional parasitic mind control over the region, it's kind of shocking at first, and then it really makes you want to be polite, but it unfortunately makes people seem two or three dimensional only because they, especially when they believe this rent slave program that they're just running for the rent. Or you have on the other extreme of the same token, the sexual misery programming is so rampant around here. What Lisa Renee calls the sexual misery programming. Then we have the high rents, and most landlords in this town, they put extra rules, which is definitely going to say no rambling philosophers allowed to hang out and use the pool. The eminence of the 3D egos, the curse of Santa Cruz. Well, they say, when they built the mission Santa Cruz, that this one priest who killed and had the most natives slaughtered and murdered that wouldn't be convert to Catholicism. They had a huge battle and they killed off all the priests, um, and they killed off all the Native American braves until there was only these women left and this one priest who'd ordered all the killings for most of them, and they strangled him and drowned him in the river and said Santa Cruz is going to be a place for women to heal. It'll be really hard for men. And it's had the blood on its identity ever since. And then when the Illuminati came and brought in their blood rituals, oh man, well they just amplified that. So then we have, as I've said before, the removal of the communities, intentional communities, houses in this county, about 4 or 5 of them in the last 5 years and 3 or 4 years prior to the lockdown. And then we have the attitude with money of the average bear, so to speak. The California bear of Santa Cruz is going to have this really, obey the provincial attitude that slaving or, hustling is stressing out over money is the norm. Trying to make friends, or in my case or other cases, getting lazy about it because you were coerced into dependency. It's just evil in the opposite way. Trying to make friends after narcissistic abuse and systematic institutional mental assault. you know, it's kind of like hitting my head against their false walls, their fake walls of character armor. Even if I had done all the shadow work to clear it out, just because this region is so, it's a place that's so scorpionic. Even if I didn't come here in the middle of November in a rainstorm and have my Chiron line run through here. So, the first woman I thought I was in love with in this town, she got her medical MD now, but she passed. She was studying to take the MCAT while I lived with her, and then I list the name in this notes of 3 others, women that I thought were my true love, that didn't even really care. The first one, she cared, but she couldn't really. She's pansexual, so she couldn't really care that much. Care about me more than all these other people that were thought they were in love with her too. And infatuation is a false belief. Okay, that's what I've learned from all these pains. That's what the Zetas have tried to make me think too, like to just not honor love at all, loving feelings. But what I do feel is that narcissists or people with narcissistic predator entities are not real people, either or, because as long as they identify the NPEs as who they are, then they're not going to be real. So when I noticed this dude I lived with for years, and I guess my friend I met through him told me He's angry because he thinks I got him, in bad favor, with the neighborhood when it was really me a decade ago after he claimed he forgave me. And I saw him yesterday just staring off into space, probably thinking about how my friend Joe, who passed on, had the same zodiac signs as him the day or two before, and he's probably dealing with that internally, thinking about death and all the people he ripped off, perhaps. And I just nodded and smiled, and he acted like I wasn't there. So I think perhaps if he's really a narcissist or has this, if he really believes this NPE is him, he has actually zero empathy, no empathy, So healing narcissistic predatorial abuse has been a reason why I've become a hermit and something I'm still dealing with. However, of course, the curse of Santa Cruz is going to scrape that wound and exasperate it and try to grow it out through, again, through the aliens and all kinds of interference that are happening here. So the second 10 years almost of being in this town, I have committed to self-healing. I've committed to learning forgiveness, transcendence, studied Buddhism for years. I became a self-help book junkie. And I began to see the majority of people, especially in Santa Cruz, California, are stuck in the 3D wage slavery or property tax slavery. And, laziness is a factor in healing from this mind control. And also say, in my example, laziness with healing my relationship with money or something, or women, several other things are factors in my healing. I've got to be 100%. I learned to be 100% clear with. Ganja is very healing and multidimensional. Yet, as I've said before, it can harbor these parasites. Santa Cruz can be a very myopic, three-dimensional, selfish, airy city. People often are very superficially nice, la-di-da, good-natured, good-natured folks acting friendly, but they don't really give a shit underneath. Did Santa Cruz feel forced to accept the negative alien agenda of the ghost, the Zeta holograms, the Santa Cruz massacre, the dot-com boom after the earthquake? Santa Cruz put on emotional lockdown, it seems, since then, especially the scripted reality of the GLBTFU, BLM, the click hijacks, the infiltration of the negative aliens into the cliques, or illuminati in every clique almost. The energy of true openness seemed to disappear and be left with an inverted shell. Now, was that a wound I created by emotional obedience within myself, or is that just the actual exterior exopolitical, epigenetic fact? Because that's the unfortunate truth, is that, until the majority or the aggregate is willing to look at the curse of Santa Cruz and what it does to them emotionally, these parasites will keep feeding, So, and that's why a lot of people say Santa Cruz seems like a shell of what it used to be. Sometimes because that's what happened to them, but sometimes because they just noticed that's what happened to Santa Cruz. Um, the energy of true openness seemed to disappear, left with an inverted shell of modified, controlled, false positivity. Yes men to the plutocracy, all anti-human values. And people don't even notice it. Quite sad. The weather weaponry blast today. The more obvious the dark is, the more repelling to the real. The energies of historical genocides are stuck in our cells and the traumas in the land, the cells of the earth. So until we do the grid work, until we know how to do the shamanic clearing of the earth of Santa Cruz and get rid of this, the prevalence of 90% being a slave to the box or the rent, it's not going to change. So I got another couple pages of notes on this topic, and if you enjoyed this, click the subscribe and definitely the notification bell for more. Make a beautiful day, my family. Peace.